Sometimes you lose some. And right now I'm losing bad. Stood on this stage night after night, reminding the broken it'll be alright. But right now I just can't. It's easy to sing when there's nothing to bring me down. But what will I say when I'm held to the flame like I am right now? I know you're able and I know you can. See through the fire with your mighty hand. But even if you don't, my hope is you alone. They say it only
We didn't. Well, good morning.
Good afternoon.
Good afternoon. There we
Good
go.
afternoon.
Good afternoon.
Today is July 18th, and we are here with our continuing study on the book of James with Ben.
And James.
June 18th. Did I say July? Oh, well, June 18th.
Well, in this time of social separation and COVID-19, all the days may sometimes seem to run together.
They do. I have to see what's happening that day to actually know what day it is. So.
Should we take a moment to center? But before I do that, I do have some announcements, James.
And we'll announce, I think you have 3 announcements.
I have 4.
4.
4 announcements.
4.
The first announcement is that next Sunday at 6:30, we'll have the Old Time Fiddlers playing here at the church in the evening, and I'll be giving a meditation, a short message as part of that. So do come. We'll be in the parking lot. In this next phase, we can worship outside, but we'll keep our social distancing.
So when
in
you
place.
say next Sunday, are you talking this weekend or are you talking next week?
I'm so glad you asked me that question. I'm already up to the last weekend of June.
Okay.
So it would be the 28th.
Okay, good. Good.
June 28th. June 28th. At 6:30 in the parking lot. And I'll have more information about that and about the social distancing that we'll keep in practice while we're having that service. The second Sunday of July, which would be the 19th, is that correct? The 12th.
12th.
The 12th, Asher Severini will be playing for our online worship service, so you'll get to hear him. He's a master at the piano, and we're looking forward to that. The first Sunday of July, I'm moving back again. We will be having drive-through communion, as we did in June. It worked out well. It seemed to be meaningful for many people, so we're going to make that a practice while we're not in the sanctuary worshiping in person. Also, July 19th, because we can go to outdoor worship, we'll have an outdoor worship service at 10:30 in the back parking lot. So July 19th, that'll be the third weekend in July. We'll have an outdoor worship service, once again maintaining our social distancing for health reasons. We'll take a moment to center ourselves.
Let's do it.
Breathe in deeply. Take that breath. Take that breath now and fill your lungs. And in filling your lungs, let your diaphragm rise. Relax your shoulders and your back, your legs. And exhale. Breathe in deeply, taking that moment to separate yourselves from any anxiety or cares. And then breathe out slowly, exhaling that tension. And we'll do that one more time. Breathe in deeply. Take that breath. Try to relax your limbs. And then exhale. All right, James, what do you got for us this morning?
I'm so relaxed.
Okay, very good.
Well, so I've really enjoyed looking at James together, and we've gone through 3 chapters. We've done 4 chapters after today. But some of the things that we have talked about, we've talked about favoritism and partiality and what it means to tame our tongue. Wisdom, what is godly wisdom versus human wisdom. And last time you talked about how quarreling and contention comes from our craving and passions, and how friendship with God means enmity with the world and world systems and that kind of stuff, right? So these themes keep coming up as we're going through James, and I think we'll see some of them in our passage today. So let's read this together. This is James chapter 4, starting with verse 11, and we're going to end at verse 17, which is the end of the chapter. So, do not speak evil against one another, brothers and sisters. Whoever speaks evil against another or judges another speaks evil against the law and judges the law. But if you judge the law, you are not a doer of the law, but a judge. There is one lawgiver and judge who is able to save and to destroy. So who then are you to judge your neighbor? Come now, you who say, today or tomorrow we will go to such and such a town and spend a year there doing business and making money. Yet you do not even know what tomorrow will bring. What is your life? For you are a mist that appears for a little while and then vanishes. I mean, we would say spittle, particulates in the air right now, right?
Right.
Instead, you ought to say, if the Lord wishes, you will live and do this or that. As it is, you boast in your arrogance. All such boasting is evil. Anyone then who knows the right thing to do and fails to do it commits sin.
Powerful passage.
The word of the Lord. Thanks be to God. I always like saying that at the end of
Tough passages.
Where you're like, if you fail to do the word of what you know is right, you've committed sin. The word of the Lord, thanks be to God.
Right.
So there's 2 distinct sections in this, right? So we have the first part that talks about judging others, and we have the second part about boasting about your plans for tomorrow. So I think we should talk about those separate, but I think that I want to say a couple words about the whole section together. Judging and planning, we do these all the time, and they're not necessarily bad. The passage here in James echoes Jesus in the Sermon on the Mount, where he says, "Do not judge, lest you be judged." With the judgment you make, you will
receive.
Yeah, you'll receive the same judgment, and the measure you give, you will be the measure you get.
Right.
But then also Paul in 1 Corinthians does talk about how we ought to judge the actions of our own community, and there are ways that we are actually called to judge others. Do you not know you will judge the angels? 1 Corinthians 6:3. So this isn't a blanket injunction against all discernment and judging. And similarly, I think the second part is it is an echo of Jesus' parable of the rich fool. The rich fool that he's like, oh, I've got so much stuff, I'm going to build a bigger barn. And we hear the voice from heaven in Luke 12 that, you fool,
right.
You're going to die tonight, and you're not going to be able to take any of this stuff with you. But at the same time, Jesus also talks in Luke 14 about how planning is good. If you're going to go to war, sit down, make the calculations. Can you win? If you're going to build a building, what is the cost of materials? Can you lay a foundation? You have to think things through. So it's not, on both of these, I think it's not really about the judging and the planning, but the key is maybe our heart attitude of humility, and where is God in the picture of both of these? I think that the thing that James is speaking against is the way that we can treat ourselves as the autonomous authority.
Could it also be that, like the 7 deadly sins, pride, gluttony, avarice, lust, the 7 deadly sins is
Vainglory.
vainglory. The 7 deadly sins is not about not having any of those things. It's about taking those natural human desires like pride,
greed,
and bringing them to the extreme.
Yeah.
Because we all have to have some pride, and sloth, well, we all have to have some downtime. And lust, we all have some sexual attraction. And maybe here he's talking in such a way that we take these to the extreme.
Yeah, I could see that, but it's also, if you look at where God is located in these passages, or in the person who's doing the judging that he's talking about, or the person who is doing the planning, God is not even considered, and it seems to be that's kind of what James is speaking against in some shape. I mean, let's look at this. I mean, verse 11. It's, do not speak evil against one another, brothers and sisters. Whoever speaks evil against another judges another. The words they're speaking against can also have the connotation of slandering somebody. And judging has the connotation of criticizing. And he says, if you judge
The law.
you judge others, you judge the law. And if you remember when we looked at the second chapter, we were given the royal law. Do you remember the royal law? Love your neighbor as yourself.
Right.
So you are judging that law when you're saying that you're better than your neighbor.
Got it.
And then he goes on and says, there is one lawgiver and judge who is able to save and to destroy. So who then are you to judge your neighbor? So if it's God, if God is the one that judges and arbitrates between us, who are we to put ourselves on the same footing as God? So I was thinking about this, and I know you're not a social media guy, but there's this thing.
Well, I should be more of one than I am.
Well, there's no judgment. No judgment, Ben. There's a thing on social media, it's called cancel culture. Do you know what cancel culture is?
No.
So if somebody says something on their Twitter or their Facebook that is just really inappropriate, then they're canceled. People say, well, hey, you're done. And there's something appropriate about that in the sense of, like, if somebody's saying something that's hateful and hurtful, that maybe we should be giving them a platform. But I think sometimes cancel culture is about us being able to say, oh, they're wrong, and it kind of elevates ourselves. And so it doesn't have to be online, but it's that same sort of thing.
And you remain like in your own echo chamber because you're not hearing a different view. Is that what you're saying?
Yeah, or you think
you're not engaging.
You're the arbitrator of what's right, so you can write off somebody else. You can cancel them.
Right.
And another way that I see this, taking the slandering thing, mansplaining. Yeah, you're a man. You've probably done this.
Mansplaining.
You know what mansplaining is?
I've heard the term.
Yeah. Mansplaining is when us who are men assume that our opinion is of more value than a woman who's maybe an expert in her field who's talking, but then we raise our hand and we say, actually, we don't know what we're talking about, but we can use our words,
our privilege,
as a way to judge another.
Got it.
So,
right. That happens.
Yeah.
Often.
Yeah. So, if we can learn that kind of deference of, like, not putting somebody, and this is, again, we were talking about favoritism a couple weeks ago, not putting somebody down, not even putting themselves on a pedestal, but saying, hey, we are both people before God, and let God do the judging.
Sure.
And you can hold things loosely. So I think that's
Very good.
the second section. I mean, again, it's like, yeah, he's talking to merchants who go to a town, sell their wares, or whatever. They're trying to make money, and he calls them out for being arrogant in their plans when they do not know what tomorrow will bring.
Right.
So you're but a vapor. You're but COVID particulates in the air. That's all you are. Again, having a business plan is good. But what James is saying is take some time to say, if the Lord wishes. Have some humility. You don't know what tomorrow will bring.
And that actually, for me, frees me up.
Yeah.
To not have to take myself so seriously, to do my best, realize, in reality, in the span of time, I am just a vapor. That's the truth of the time's creation. And that while I want to think of my life as important, and it is important, it's loved, it's not the end all. I'm only here for a period of time. Do what I can, and then let the rest go.
Yeah. Well, and I think we
sleep better at night.
We talk about the Spirit as wind, right?
Right.
So, like, if we're a vapor, and we put everything into our own fumes, like if we can leave room for the Spirit to blow in and do what the Spirit will,
right?
Because she blows what she will. I mean, that's so it kind of frees us up from the whole determinism that we would like, but also allows us space to see where God might want something else to happen, or there are possibilities that we maybe even hadn't thought of.
Good point. Sure.
So,
well, very good. Thank you.
Well, thank you. And thank you.
And thank you. Once again, we'll see you on Sunday morning at 10:30. We look forward to it.
Yeah, Sunday.
Bye-bye.
Bye.